Come in, Matt.
Sergeant Matt reporting for duty, sir.
Close the door, Matt. And don't slouch into my office like a pregnant camel. Stun to attention. At ease.
Is that my B9.95, sir?
As if you didn't know. And it makes awful reading, Matt. You just love the army, don't you?
Oh, yes, sir. I just love the army, sir.
You may find a better audience for your jokes where you're going. I'm transferring you to Major Darby's outfit.
Oh, what will be my job, sir?
Well, it could give your particular talents more scope than observation duties. At least you won't be sitting in an attic for 2 months.
Is this a promotion, sir?
Sort of.
Any more money?
Let's see. 1,300 pay and allowances.
Yes, sir.
I'll try and get you 1,400.
Oh, thank you, sir. Now I can get that new infrared podcasting mic.
Well, save your money. Where you're going, there won't be much time for podcasting. Darby works his men, and he doesn't even have my sense of humor.
Yes, sir. I will miss that, sir.
Yes. Alright. Come on, I'll take you over.
The B9.95. Must that go with us?
I'm afraid so.
What was it? On the raid, you were like, these fight scenes weren't dubbed. But all they were doing
No,
was
yeah.
just like,
I was like, yeah, I was having problems with this because, like, I couldn't, like, because it was in a different language, and you were like, screams aren't in a different language, and I was like,
wait a minute.
yeah. Okay. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Buddy Shotz 109. It's really fine.
We're doing time.
For Ipcress Week.
Mike Week.
I tried to make this Michael Caine week, but I honestly couldn't find any TV shows that he had been in that wasn't like, there's a mini series he was in about like chasing down the Jack the Ripper, and I was like, this is like a BBC mini series. It's like each episode's going to be like 10 hours long. Speaking of which. So yeah, this is all about both the movie starring Michael Caine from, what is it, 1965? Still alive. And the show that came out like last year from the BBC.
An inspired choice. Because I'd never seen this before.
Yeah, I didn't either. I hadn't seen Ipcress File, and honestly, like, the TV show wasn't anything I had on my list. It was just, it's like, okay, well, how do I tie this into something? I can't find anything Michael Caine-wise. Let me just, oh, they made an Ipcress File TV show. I guess I'll watch that. So why not?
Yeah. So we did it anyway.
Yep. So, Michael Caine. This, I would assume, I'm sure he did other, obviously he's a big person now, but I'm assuming this is something that, like, really, like, launched him.
Yeah, this was his breakout role that made him a star.
Yeah. Because Henry Palmer was kicking ass, and he was taking his gun out of his jacket there. So you said you'd never seen this. I'm assuming you'd at least heard of it?
I'd heard of it.
Okay.
I guess I never watched it because, like, anything like a trailer or something I saw from it, I thought it looked boring.
Mm-hmm.
But I was wrong.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad you picked it, and I'm glad we watched it.
Yeah, me too. Apparently there's other ones that are based on this character that he played. Mm-hmm. There are other movies, but...
yeah, there were a couple right after this that I haven't seen either, but apparently were, like, diminishing returns.
Yeah, as most
and then he came back to do, like, 2 TV movies in the 90s as Harry
Michael
Palmer.
Caine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which those might be worth checking out.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I don't know how you did this, but I watched the film first and then the TV show.
I did too.
Because I did the same thing with, like, Working Girl,
Yep.
where you were like, you probably should at least watch the movie first, and I was thinking, okay, that's always a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
I'm glad I did that too, because
yeah, me too. I wasn't sure what you were going to think about it, but I guess that leads into Weird Watches, Ipcress File.
we watches.
The Ipcress File.
Just real quick, the sequels are called Funeral in Berlin and
Okay.
$1 Billion Brain.
Not $1 Billion Baby. $1 Billion Brain. But the show Ipcress File that's based on the movie. It's weird. I guess it's like, so it's based on the 62 novel, but it's like the show is kind of like, it almost seems like at least the first episode was like a prequel to the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It stars some people. I'm not really sure who these people
No
are.
one I was familiar with. Joe Cole.
Yeah, Joe Cole, Lucy Boynton, and Tom Hollander. I guess those were like the three people on like the poster for it that were like him, the lady that he's like involved with, and like maybe his boss. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm like, Joe Cole is a joke hole.
Joe Cole. Sounds naughty. So this came out like I said, last year, in March.
A mini series or a limited series, as
Yeah.
they're sometimes called, which
Right.
I'm becoming less and less a fan of these because it's like you could make a movie
Yeah.
or you could stretch it out into 8 hours long and fill it with a bunch of
Yeah.
filler.
That's pretty much all miniseries do that. Like, they used to do that back in the day when we were young, where it'd be like, it's a limited miniseries, where it's literally like Stephen King would be like, it's a 2-night miniseries, and it's like, okay, this is like a movie that they should have cut 10 hours out of this.
Yeah, so this show, like,
Sucked, in my opinion.
I was gonna try not to.
Sorry.
Like, it's a fine show. It's like well made, but this is one of the least inspiring pilots, like first episodes
Yeah.
I've ever seen. Like, there's nothing compelling about this at all.
So the problem is, if you watch the movie and you watch this, it's like it's like everything that they do in the show is just like a worse version of it, and it's also like
It's more like
it's
basic.
filmed horribly.
Yeah.
It's all like, like the action is like just, it's like modern day action to a degree, but it's like there's no style to this. It's like not like Mad Men, where like they go back to the time period and they're able to like pull it off, whereas like this is like they're in like West Berlin in 1963, and this is like apparently like what happens before, how he gets put into the army for like England, because he's being like a gun runner and doing all this like shit that he's not supposed to do, and then like he gets caught and they take him back, and that's the whole like premise.
Yeah.
But like they talk about that in the movie, and all you needed was like the little bit they talked about it, but in here it's like,
Yeah. Also, that's
Yeah.
the part that's not interesting. Like, the
Right.
cool thing about Ipcress File is, like, you get to see Harry Palmer, like, doing
Right.
spycraft.
yeah.
And in this movie, he's just, like, being talked to and being abducted.
I actually have a note about that later on, spycraft, because I actually couldn't find that on Google, which I thought was hilarious.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I like that you say that, though. It's a craft of spies. But I didn't like this show at all.
No, me
Didn't have
neither.
the same feel. Felt like someone like cosplaying as Harry Palmer.
Yeah.
Shot horribly compared to the original.
It was just devoid of any entertainment.
Yeah. It has none of the class or soul. I turned it off when they played like Vonage Unlimited cell phone call commercial, like the Kill Bill from the Rocketines. Woohoo! Woohoo.
Oh, yeah. It was like, kill
That
me.
wasn't the reason why I turned it off. It was just I couldn't see there being a reason to keep watching, and I wasn't like pissed or anything. I was just kind of like I knew it wasn't going to get any better, and I was never going to keep watching this show. So, like I said, it's not the reason I turned it off. I just like watched a great film, and this was just like a shitty recreation of it.
Yeah, it just makes you ask why.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. There's too much good stuff out there. Don't watch Ipcress File, the series.
Yeah, it was weird. It was like, You would think that, like, maybe because it was made by, like, the BBC or, like, the British, they would, like, be more in tune with the source material, but apparently that doesn't mean shit, because maybe they had, like, no money or something, I don't know. It just felt very cheap all around. But speaking of the Ipcress File, if you're fine to, I'd like to move on to the actual movie of the Ipcress File.
I'd like to spend more time on the miniseries.
Okay, well, let's talk about in depth Joe Cole, or whatever his name is, and how he contributed to Faulkner's writings in the 51st century. I want to.
You do have books on the 51st century?
I want to deconstruct this, just like I'm gonna deconstruct the TV series. Fuck you.
You're like,
yeah. What? They're like, do you want to watch the Ipcress File? And I'm like, you piece of trash.
Ipcress File, I'm like.
Yeah. What's his face? Kiefer Sutherland's like.
Kiefer and Donald.
Sucking. They're chopping each other. Do you think they ever fought DMX? I was like,
DMX. R.I.P.
Yeah, seriously. Great man. B105. So yeah, let's talk about, I guess, the movie.
Yeah.
Which this is all based around. Obviously, at least I think there's no secret that, like, we've already kind of talked highly of it, saying that at least, the TV series it didn't hold a candle to it, really. Which I guess if it sucked, we would be like, yeah, it held no candle because it sucks. But anyway, so like you said earlier, this came out in 1965. British spy film directed by Sidney J. Fury.
Who directed a couple other movies we've done on the podcast.
Oh,
The Entity.
Off. Yes.
And Iron Eagle. Starring Chappie.
Iron Eagle.
And this dude is still directing movies. He's like 90.
He's like, hey, Michael Caine, bitch. I'm like, shit. The Entity. Yeah. A movie I picked that thought was going to be great. It was really just talking about
You're like, it was the funnest movie I've ever watched.
I was like, cool. Ghosts.
I'm like, Sydney, your Fury was
Yeah.
in The Entity.
Michael Caine's like, what's this, all these fucking ghosts? So speaking of Michael Caine, he's in
Dude,
this
if Michael
movie.
Caine was in The Entity getting,
my God.
like, assaulted by ghosts, even better.
He's like, my eggs and pears. My meat and 2 berries. So Michael Caine's in this film. The screenplay by Bill Canaway and James Doran was based on Len Deighton's novel, The Ipcress File, which came out in 1962. This is one of the reasons why, like, I decided to pick this film, is because I was reading, like, up on spy films, and it received, or it was 59 on the British Films, like, 100 best films of the 20th century. In their eyes. The film and its sequels were a deliberately downbeat alternative to the hugely successful James Bond films, even though some of the production team were previously involved with the 007 movies. So,
Yep.
got some good history here. So what's this movie about, Matt?
It's about Harry Palmer, who's just a normal, average guy
Yeah.
doing his job.
In his
That's fine.
average place. He just wants to be left alone.
Yeah, so, like, to highlight the differences between Bond and Ipcress File,
Yeah.
like, the opening...
And James Bond and Harry Palmer.
and Palmer is, like, the opening sequence of a Bond movie is, like,
Yeah.
explosions and, like,
It's all
jumping
action
out of planes.
and, like, yeah, he's essentially at the end, he's saying some, like, ridiculous catchphrase or something cool, and, like, he's getting with some woman and killing some henchmen.
Yeah. And in Ipcress File, he's, like, in his jammies making coffee. And that's the opening.
Yeah, essentially the opening is him, like, making coffee. So.
And I guess I learned some stuff with the behind the scenes and commentary. But, like, it was very controversial, even the fact that he wore glasses in this movie.
Right.
Because he was the first lead man to, like, wear glasses since Harold Lloyd way back in the day. Because it just, people didn't think it was cool.
Right, I mean, like, usually, I mean, even, like, when we watched, what was it? The Creature from the Black Lagoon sequel or whatever, the last one, all the scientists were, like, ripped and handsome. Like, nobody was, like, nerdy wearing glasses, so it was, like, to be shown wearing glasses, it was, like, dude, what is this?
It was a sign of weakness.
Yeah.
But Michael Caine like broke the mold and made it cool to wear glasses.
Yeah, because now, I mean, you look at like the sexual Austin Powers, and he was like, you know, obviously like his character is based on Michael Caine and all these other spies. So
as I was watching this movie, I was thinking like, how much are you loving this? Because like this movie was made for you.
Yeah,
it has all the stuff that you love, like swinging 60s Austin Powers and like spying, and you're always wanting James Bond to like do actual spying. And this is the movie where a guy does that.
Yes. Yeah, it was really cool.
But also, as good as this movie is, like Michael Caine makes this movie.
Right.
He's awesome.
Like, as good as this movie is, Michael Caine ruins this film with his performance. So this actually like sets up a trope, I think, that like is seen in a lot of other like spy films and maybe even a Bond film down the way, but like there's like a scientist that gets brainwashed and stuff like that, which becomes kind of like a big thing that happens in other films. Like
he gets Ipcress.
Right. But before he gets stolen, or I guess man-napped or whatever.
Man-napped?
He's not a kid, but he's reading something called The New Scientist. I don't know if that's a real magazine, but I would assume so. But I just thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
So, holy shit, I've had alarm goes off forever.
Yes.
But Michael Caine, I guess, like, not Michael Caine, but Harry Palmer, like his character. I never thought about that, but that's actually kind of a smart thing to do if you actually want to make sure that you got up on time, is to put your alarm not next to your bed, but put it like somewhere in the room. Because like at first I was like, why doesn't he just turn off the alarm or like answer the phone if that's what it is? But like you find out that like he gets up and the alarm's like all the way on the other side of the room. So that also kind of sets up like his character as somebody that like doesn't really want to be doing this shit. I also thought it was kind of cool because it reminded me of like when they're like nowadays like Stephen King's this or that. This one's like Len Deighton's The Ipcress File, so they give credit, which is really cool.
Yeah,
I always like to see that in movies. Okay, I don't understand. I think maybe this was supposed to be something else. Michael Caine is a baby. I don't understand what that means. Because the next line after that says, grind his own coffee beans using a French press, and it looks pretty awesome. Like, it was really cool to see him like do all that. It kind of reminded me of the Bond film we watched. What is
Live and
it?
Let Die?
Yeah, Live and Let Die, where at the beginning he's doing all that and stuff. But I think that was just like you had to do that back in the day because it was like, you know,
there was no curing.
Right. It was like literally like you have to grind your own beans and shit like that. Like you had it in the
and grind your own bones to make your bread.
And be a baby.
Maybe you just meant he's very young in this movie.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. That's what I meant. I know I should have wrote something else besides that because otherwise it's like what? I thought it was cool how like it shows like he like is not sure what's going on. Like someone knocks on the door and it like zooms in on the gun that he has or whatever, or on his bed. And it's like...
I love how he's just rolling around with a loose gun in his bed. Like, that's, you're going to blow your wiener off, dude.
My grandma used to sleep with, like, a loaded revolver under her mattress.
Whoa.
Yeah. I would not be... I would not think that would be a good idea. But, so, it kind of also points to, like, holy crap. Like, this day, if you were to show like a gun in a movie, you'd be like, who gives a fuck? But here it's like they show the gun and it's like, holy crap, like, you know, this is a big deal. And it is a big deal. But taking down notes for a stakeout says, he says, you're a man at one point, which I thought was funny because I think every once in a while I'll say that or whatever. But yeah, should have been our man Bashir. Michael getting a promotion and pay. Boss says, your new boss doesn't have my sense of humor. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
Because the whole joke, obviously, is that he's not funny at all.
Yeah, there's lots of, like, very dry British humor
yeah.
in this movie, which I appreciate.
Yeah. It's very great. I like the camera angles. There's a lot of, like... Yeah, so that's the thing that I learned a lot from the filmmakers is, like...
there's a few things. So first of all, you know how there's like from back in the day, there's always crazy stories.
Yeah.
Well, Michael Caine tells some like crazy shit. He said the first day the director called the whole crew together and he lit the script on fire and burned it in front of them and said he hated it. So basically, they were writing the script every day before they were making it up as they went along. And because of that, he came up with all these weird camera angles to add some spice to the movie because they didn't have a script.
Dude, that's awesome.
But some of these camera angles are very weird, and they're almost like the camera is spying on the movie. You're looking through weird reflections and stuff.
Yeah, or like there's like a camera angle that's like down below looking at somebody.
Yeah.
And it's just very weird.
I sent you that weird one of the dude with the lamp right next to him, but there's another one like... Look at that. It's like just the back of a guy's neck.
You can barely see the subject that's talking.
They were just trying to make it very interesting and different, and that's one of the coolest parts of this movie.
Yeah, I agree. It's also funny that you mentioned like the whole script thing, because you look at a movie like Super Mario Brothers where they were literally writing the script on the fly, and it was kind of like the opposite, where it kind of became like...
Yeah, usually that's not a good thing.
movie, but it became like... I don't know, you either love that movie or you hate it.
A train wreck.
Yeah.
The other funny story he told is that like the director and the producer, Harry Saltzman, didn't get along very well. Yeah. And one day the director just burst into tears and ran away from the set, and like he said he got on a bus and Michael Caine was chasing the bus in a car, like trying to get him back. It was like, is this story really true?
He's like, I was on the set and I never heard of Mario Brothers. There's a little bouncing, man, that goes up and down.
It's like, come on, dude, get real. Yeah. But also there's one of the fight scenes in the movie is filmed from like inside a phone booth looking out, which was very controversial. It's like, why? It's just
that fight scene was also seemed very unchoreographed. It was hilarious. It was like, this is like something that we would do back in the day when we were kids, like filming.
Yeah. It's just very unconventional, which is always a good thing.
Yeah. So they talk about like this project called Brain Drain that like his boss was, I guess, kind of pushing or whatever, or talking about. That kind of comes into play later. We talked about this off camera, but like his boss, that's like his old boss, sounds like Roger Moore.
Close the door, Palmer.
Major Dalby. It isn't usual to read a B-107 to its subject, Palmer, but I'm going to put you straight. Insubordinate, insolent, a trickster, perhaps with criminal tendencies. Yes, that's pretty fair appraisal, sir. I was like, yeah, the dialogue is really great in this.
Nice dialogue.
I thought this was another, like, funny scene. Funny dialogue. The fellow whose job I'm taking, will he show me the ropes? Maybe, if you're in touch with the spirit world. I beg your pardon. He was shot this morning. Like, is that really necessary? But it's funny. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's a part where he's getting, like, armored. Like, they're giving him, like, what his setup will be. And he's like, give him, like, the Colt or whatever. And he's like, I'd rather use my automatic. And he's like, you'll use the Colt. And he's like, I'll use the Colt. It's like, he kind of sees what he can get away with, but at the end of the day, he will do what he's told. You know what I mean? For the most part. He's less out of line than everyone else, but he's not, like, a bastard or anything. The little blonde bird that you were with the other evening. Rita? That's it. What's her phone number? You dirty old man. And then later he says, you scratch my back and I'll scratch hers. You gotta be locked up. I know. It's just like, I don't know. It's very like...
close to Austin Powers territory.
Yeah, exactly. Then he's just like, well, what about her number? And he's like, disconnected. I'm like, Jesus, he just fucked him over. This was when they had some really cool, like, when you kind of first see, like, as you say, spycraft or whatever, where, like, he's sitting in a car and you're wondering, like, what he's doing, and then he, like, a dude comes out to feed a meter, and then he gets up and follows the guy, and it's like, dude, this is awesome.
Yeah, and it's not technically exciting, but it's exciting from a story standpoint.
Right,
like,
and
it doesn't sound a dude just following a guy, but, like, that's what makes this movie cool, is, like, he's doing what a real spy would do.
It's kind of like the stuff you would probably see if, like when a character in one of these movies is, like, doesn't have the disposal of all of his like guys to tell him where everything is, like in like Bourne Identity or whatever. Like maybe he's on the outs and he's trying to like do his own thing, or like he would be following somebody or tailing somebody, that kind of a thing. But in this movie, like this is before there were like satellites and all this other crap to help you like pinpoint somebody with GPS. This is literally like, okay, well hopefully this is the guy, and you know I got to find out where he's going to find out where the subject is.
Yeah.
I did think it was funny though. Palmer makes a big amount of noise walking down a spiral staircase. We did have another guy in this movie with glasses. He had like thick glasses with tape on the bridge of his fucking glasses right here.
And then he got machine gunned to death by Michael Caine.
And then the rotary phone was in this, and it took him like forever to like call someplace. And I was like, I put a note that said, remember that? And then I was like, wait, probably not. Most people don't remember those. If you were born after a certain time, like cell phones were the only thing. Phone line disconnected. He follows them, and Palmer throws a dude down the stairs twice. This is the scene we're talking about where it's like a clusterfuck, where it's like, pretty sure this wasn't like... It was pretty funny because it was like kind of realistic to like how two people would fight if they had like Palmer's getting the better of him. But then, like, some weird thing happens where he, like, sweeps his leg almost, and then he falls over, and then, like, he tries to run after him, and the dude is, like, instantly gets in his car and drives away.
That was good stuff.
Yeah. I like this scene where he gets home, and he sees his light is on, like, above his thing, and he, like, pulls his gun out. It's very, like, I don't know, it's just really cool to see this kind of stuff. I don't know. I can't really describe like why.
It's fun to watch like a smart character who's
right.
like doing their job well. I mean, Bond. It's the same as Bond, but like in a different way.
Yeah. Have you seen everything? Yes. Thank you. Did you know where the whiskey is? Yes. Fix us both one, will you? This guy, like Palmer, is essentially like, get a cigar of your dad's humidoring the shit out of this lady. He's like, do you know where the food is? Well, actually, he cooks, but he's like, do you know where the... He's like, do you like music? She's like, yeah. He's like, well, put on a record. It's like over and over again. I was like, dude.
But this is the scene with my favorite line in the movie where she asks him if he always wears his glasses.
Dude,
like,
yeah.
I do, except in bed.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude. He went full Austin Powers.
But then, like, you like the part you forgot to say is, like, he takes his glasses off, and that's when it's like, he's about to have sex. I'm like, oh my god, he's going to do it. And then they show
he had a sexcapade.
Then they have a full-blown sex. They have a sex. He's like,
Did you think it was cool that he's like a foodie?
yeah, I mean, he's, so, like, James Bond is, like, has his whole thing where he's, like, you know, he's like, oh, I like smoking... Well, I don't know, does James Bond smoke? I guess he smokes cigarettes, but there's no cigars.
But James Bond would never cook a meal for someone.
Right, but, like, well, maybe Roger Moore.
Yeah, maybe.
But
he would order room service.
Roger Moore would probably cook for somebody because he's, like, the gentleman Bond. More, what's it called?
But even that was controversial at the time. Like, men wouldn't cook for a woman. It's just not done.
Yeah. You're like, let's bring it back.
Yeah, like
You're like, damn it. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, like Bond, like, yeah, he's like, Bond has a very Bond is like a very specific set of things that he likes. Like, he's like, I like this, chilled specifically at this, and it's like a cool character, but it's not very realistic.
Yeah, exactly. He'd never go to the supermarket and get cans of mushrooms.
Right, because he wouldn't cook anything, like you said. He has somebody else do it for him. But, like, yeah, Palmer has skills that he worked on that he's good at. And even throughout this movie, you see him, like, improve his spy skills and even kind of graduate into an actual, like, spy by the end of the film. This is kind of like the graduation of Harry Palmer into, like, the agent that he will become, which is cool. So, I thought it was cool his new boss went to bat for him. But did he have ulterior motives?
Yeah, so, like, the mystery of this movie, I had no idea like where it was going.
Yeah.
I was wrong about who I thought the bad guy was.
Right,
It
I was too.
It still worked.
Which is ridiculous because, like, if you think about how many films have come out and done, like, the who's the real bad guy, red herring kind of thing, and I was still like, wait a minute, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, it just goes to show, like, how well this movie was shown, and they didn't give away too much. Like, they gave away enough to make you, like, wonder, but, like, it wasn't like, you know, a bad detective story where, like, you know, like Sherlock with Benedict Cumberbatch, where they don't show you anything, and then at the end it's like he solves the mystery. It's like, how the fuck was anybody supposed to know that but him? He's the only one that saw the clues. But like, he's like, this stove is still warm, and then they like pulls out a thing, and it's like, it says Ipcress on it. So it's like he finds a clue, and he finds like some stuff, and at the end of the scene, he's like, have you guys had lunch? And he's like, I'll buy you some. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like his new boss, it's like he's like kind of warming up to him, and like he's actually like, oh, I'm actually finally getting some like recognition. Whereas like I guess he felt like his old boss was just kind of like wasting his talents and stuff, because he would sit in an attic for hours and just watch a subject. And so like, speaking of grocery store, like you said earlier, he goes and is shopping, and like I guess his old boss, Colonel Ross, like shows up. And he's like, I haven't seen you in here before, sir. And he's like, no, well, I really don't care for these American shopping methods. One has to move with the times, I suppose. And I was like, what? Like, where was he shopping before? Like, he had to go catch beefaroni in the wild or something?
It's a wild beefaroni. Shoot it.
Shoot.
It's a bouncing beefaroni.
I never knew that it was based on a can of spaghetti.
I thought Chef Boyardee was a real chef.
Which actually was a real chef, but... Let's talk Chef Boyardee. Let's do a deconstruction.
Captain Crunch is a real captain.
He's like, you and me, we make it happen. It's like...
He's picking wild crunch berries off the trees.
He's like...
Crunchberry bush.
Yeah. He picks too many. He's like, oops, all berries. His old boss wants him to betray his new boss, and like he's like, I went in on this, and I want the microfilm. And it's funny they mentioned microfilm, because in Bond that was a thing they started doing for a bit there too. It was like the microfilm, the microfiche.
There's always
like,
a microfilm.
Yeah. I'm like, why don't you explain to the audience at home what a microfilm is? The most delicious meal then becomes sexpionage. He's like, I'm gonna cook you the most delicious meal you've ever had, baby. And she's like, that meal was great. And he's like, let's have sex. So his boss takes Palmer to a concert he likes, and it reminded me, like in the other, like Palmer was not having it. It reminded me whenever I would take you to see like any Ghostbusters, Turtles, or Dragon Ball movie. you're like, you're there because you're like a best friend, but that's it. You're like Christ. Proto-proton device. An interesting. So they're attending this performance, and Palmer's like, very neat. Unless we sit through any more of this torture, I've got a lot of things to do. And he's like, I think they're playing very well. And Palmer's like, tell me who wins. And then he gets up and leaves. It's like he didn't want to have it.
He dropped the mic.
Yeah, he was like, frick this. So this is when they kind of meet for the exchange of like the scientist and the money.
This was a very cool scene.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the... It's probably one of the coolest in the movie.
This is the coolest scene in the movie.
Probably.
But it's only probably the best scene in the movie. So they're armed to the teeth, both sides, and like one of them is an ambulance, the other one's just a car of people, and like there's a guy on a stretcher that's like the scientist that like a dude's pretending to check him out and stuff like that. That's supposed to be the doctor. Another dude is like taking the money, is like counting the money, and when everything's done, they pick up the dude in the gurney, which like two sticks and like whatever it's called, like a cot, and
sling.
They pick it up. And one of the things I was thinking is like, dude, how funny would it be if it just ripped like in one of those old school fucking things where it's like they pick up the sticks and it's like the guy just lays on the ground and they take the sticks away.
Or coffin drop.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
So
That should have been in the hilarious outtakes during the credits.
Yeah, the credits, and it's like everywhere you look.
Freeze frame.
He's like, at the end, the guy's dead. It's like freeze frame. Dun, dun, dun. I'm working in a slow motion. It's like what? So yeah, they exchange everything, and the bad guys speed off, and then like Palmer's like, "Look out!" Which is like
he sees a random dude and guns him down in cold blood.
He says, "Look out!" and then he fucking kills the shit out of him. And it turns out to be Felix Leiter, essentially. It was like an American agent.
Glasses man.
Yeah. So, like, but that's total ADR because there's at no point do you actually see Michael Caine say "look out." He's like, "Look out!" And it's like, okay. And then the American agent is just like, "I'm coming after your ass if you like, if I find out that you're crooked, you're dead." You know what I mean? Because it's like, the Americans aren't 100% sure that he actually didn't just kill him in cold blood, and thinks that maybe he had ulterior motives. So this is the part I was talking about earlier off camera where I'm pretty sure this was ADR'd because I rewound it a couple times. But it's weird. It's an ADR in a way where like a Godzilla movie is dubbed back in the day. So Palmer says, "There's dead American agent in my flat," and when he says like "there's a dead American agent in my flat," it's not synced up. So I'm pretty sure that like something happened where the audio was maybe unusable for that part, and they had to like re-record it or something, because at points it matches up, but like dead and American doesn't match up. So
as usual, I didn't notice that.
Maybe look out for that.
That's interesting.
Maybe it could have been the copy of the movie I was watching. Carlswell got somewhere with the Ipcress File, and Palmer is being framed for the killing.
The killings.
Yeah. Low shot of hands meeting to kiss. Another cool camera angle. Like the hands weren't kissing. Dude puts gun to Palmer. He's like, "Oh!" He wakes up in a prison cell. So this is part of the movie where like they really, really like. I'm sure there are movies out there that I haven't seen, but this is probably the most effective torture I've seen because it makes you feel like very much a part of the torture and stuff. As far as like he's kind of like sleep deprivation, especially because they were like every time that this is asshole tries to go to bed, like wake him up.
Yeah, at this point, this is really my only nitpick about the movie, but like once he gets abducted, I think it loses a little bit of momentum.
I guess abducted is what I should have said earlier, not stolen.
Yeah.
Man-napped. He's like...
It loses kind of the momentum, and I think it just
it's almost like something that you would think would have happened like in the middle of the film or something. It's definitely something I'm pretty sure I've seen in Bond films before, where like James Bond gets tortured, but never to this extent where it's like he's wholly humiliated and stripped of all like his.
Michael Caine does a good job of like portraying the agony, the torture,
the agony of defeat. But later on, he has the smell of victory. But he's like, you see, he hasn't shaved in a while, like, and they put like makeup under his eyes to make it look like he hasn't slept forever. And at the end of the day, I mean, he still is able to, like, overcome his abductors and, like, escape, which is, like, shocking. It's like, holy crap, this is just how resolute this guy is at being a spy.
Yeah. It's also cool that his way of, like, deflecting the torture is to, like, add pain to himself. Like, he
essentially gives himself, like, fucking the crucifix stigmata here in his hands.
Badass.
Yeah. But the blood in this movie is very Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah. It's like... pink paint.
Yeah. They finally give him bread. Let's see here. Nice sleep deprivation. He's broken out. So at the end of this movie, they have like a thing where it's like his old boss and his new boss, like he lures them both to like this factory he was told to meet one of them at, because it's like he's trying to figure out who set him up. Like, who's the person that sent him to hell? send him to like the torture place, and like he's not sure because he's been like kind of programmed, but like at the end he does like pain enough to himself to like also resist, and I think the one dude fucks up because he says kill the other guy, but then he says kill the traitor, and it's like, wait a minute, he's the traitor, so he like shoots him.
It was very effective.
Yeah.
I love the like camera work because he's holding two guns, and it's like the camera's going back and forth between each guy as he's
holding 12 cameras,
or maybe he's holding just one.
Yeah, he's holding one gun.
He's like Arnold. In
I was like, what? I was like,
he's pointing one gun.
I'm like,
two guys.
actually, one gun and two guys. Like, it's like what? But yeah, like he's essentially, it's like
it was almost like a video game where it's like third person perspective.
His old boss and his new boss. Like the new guy has a mustache, the old guy doesn't, and like, Dolby. And essentially, spoiler for everybody, his new boss is the fucking traitor. He fucks him up.
To both of our surprise.
Yeah. And he plugs his ass. Or he kills him.
And I love any movie where like the hero murders the bad guy, end of movie. Like it's over.
Yeah, it essentially there's no time wasted. Like he's literally like he's laying on the ground and like
credits.
His new boss is like gives him like a handkerchief for his fucking hand. And he's like
he's basically like, thanks for doing your job, dude.
Yeah, he was like he's like, didn't you know this was gonna happen? He's like, well, it's part of the job.
Yeah. Great ending.
And he was just like, and then they just walk away. And there's no like fight. It's just like Harry Palmer like has essentially proved himself, and I'm assuming in the next films he continues to prove himself in ways we cannot soon imagine.
Yeah.
So great movie, and I'm glad I picked it.
Me too. Just a
glad.
couple other notes, like you mentioned, a lot of the James Bond crew worked on this movie. Like Ken Adam was production designer, Peter Hunt was the editor, and John Barry did the score. And all those guys did a lot of Bond movies too.
You said they were in the crew.
Yep.
Do you think they were in the posse?
Nice.
They're like, JB, everybody in the posse, everybody in the ding 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 ding.
I know one thing. This is what they do.
Do. Harry Palmer's in the posse. Harry Palmer's in the crew.
Nice.
We spy in the craft.
Also, this movie is basically a procedural.
Yes.
And it reminded me a lot of Bullet with Steve McQueen.
Okay,
which came out like I think the year after this, where basically it's just a guy like doing his job.
Right.
That's it. Like there's not a bunch of drama. It's just a very matter of fact.
Save
movie.
the drama for your mama.
Exactly. It also reminded me of High and Low.
Okay.
Akira Kurosawa's movie,
Okay,
which is another police procedural. Those are both awesome movies, and I think this movie's on the same level. It's a classic.
It's a masterclass in how to do your job.
Yeah,
and do it well.
One thing we also didn't talk about is just the look of this movie. Like it's very drab and like it's gray skies all the time, and it's just like
it's very makes you feel in like Britain.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's like not to like slam it, but it's like it's raining today, and like it rains like 90% of the time over there.
Very appropriate.
Yeah.
For Ipcress week.
Yeah, it's raining.
Yeah, really good movie.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go 8.95.
Nice. Great film. Yeah, I mean this movie has everything I want in it. It's got Michael Caine, it's got spying, and it's got the great soundtrack. Everything else fucking sucks. Yeah, of course it's like a 9.95 for me.
Nice.
You gotta watch this film right now. Stop what you're doing. Don't watch this shit.
It's a unique movie.
Yeah. And it, especially if you like spy stuff, I mean, you gotta watch this film. I guess I'm kind of upset I didn't watch it before, but
me too. I'm like, why did it take so long
I guess
for me to
I'm
watch
glad
this?
that I watched it now.
Better late than never.
And
if you like Michael Caine, like this is a must see.
Yes,
and I think
sure.
Everyone in the world likes Michael Caine, so everyone should see it.
Especially his parents.
They're the only ones who don't.
Yeah, they're like, fuck you. Like Michael fucking Stick.
Michael Bain.
He's like, it would be extremely painful. Like, fuck that. So yeah, great film.
Yeah, nice choice, man.
Thank
it was,
you.
It was fun to watch and fun
I'm
to
like
talk
Diddy
about.
Kong. I'm like, actually, that's Donkey Kong. Diddy Kong like throws his hat up in here. Okay, so I don't really have anything else to say about this film. I'm honestly probably gonna pick the other ones at some point,
Cool.
and I'm really glad that this movie was awesome, and I'm glad that it wasn't a chore to get through.
Yeah, me too.
I'm glad that the movie wasn't. I'm not super glad that the show was, but
It was worth a try.
yeah. So I guess speaking of trying, what are you doing for next week?
All right, so let me build up
Hell yeah, dude.
the anticipation. So my next pick
The look.
is going to be weird.
Okay. The weird.
It's a Tony Scott movie, which we've watched a
Ah.
couple already. Crimson Tide and Last Boy Scout.
Okay. I was thinking of what's it called? Universal Soldier. I was
No.
thinking of Tony.
John Hyams.
No, like the guy that's like the main dude in that. What's his name? Tony.
Oh, Scott Adkins.
Scott Adkins. Sorry. Okay.
So Last Boy Scout was about football. This movie is about baseball. And let me tell you the cast.
Okay.
Robert De Niro, Wesley Snipes,
Okay. I
And
know what this
Benicio
I know
del
this
Toro.
movie, yeah.
The Fan.
Yeah. It's about like Robert De Niro being like obsessed, right? Yeah. I've never seen this.
Buckle
film.
your seatbelts because it's a weird one.
Okay.
And I don't have a theme
Okay.
this week, but for Weird Watches is a show called Thanksgiving.
You're going with all the. For last week time it was Christmas, and this time it's
Yeah.
Thanksgiving. So you trying to tell me something?
Starring Chris Elliott.
Okay. This is a show.
Yeah.
I'm assuming this was like a failed show, maybe.
I think so.
Sadly, Chris Elliott's stuff didn't really go over all that well.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So Thanksgiving and The Fan, two totally unrelated things, but no big deal. I think definitely like The Fan is one that I have never seen, but I've definitely heard of before.
Mhm.
But it's one that I've kind of been interested to watch. But
I know, like, Last Boy Scout,
Mhm.
we both loved. Like,
Yeah.
it was probably one of our top movies that we've watched. So I'm hoping. I don't know if this won't quite make it because it's like
It's like about
maybe
an
not
obsessed
successful
person or whatever.
was.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know much more about it other than
It's
Robert
weird,
De
dude.
Niro is like completely obsessed with like the team or whatever.
I'm not sure if the movie is like pulls off successfully.
Yeah,
It might be like so bad it's funny,
yeah.
but
Hey, I mean,
it
I
might
guess
be
that's
good.
the best
I don't
thing
know.
that it
We're just
could
gonna
be.
have to figure it out.
Or that's the worst best thing it could be. It's so bad it's funny.
I think it's going to be another Neighbors situation where, like,
Okay.
I've seen this a couple times, and I
Don't
need
know what
your
you-
help to like figure out if this movie is awesome or horrible.
Hopefully, it's more like Neighbors and less like Tusk, where you were like, I'm not sure what this movie's about, and at the end of the day, I was like, bullshit. And you were like, oh no. Yeah. Okay. Cool, man. I'm always excited.
Help me watch The Fan.
I'll look through your window. Like, I'll be a fan of you watching The Fan. Let me see here. What was I gonna say? Yeah, I don't know, man. I think I'm excited to watch it, and I don't know, man. It's something weird. It tastes weird, whatever's in here, but
Yeah, the tea I prepared you.
yeah. I don't know. But anyway, you guys, I was going to talk more about Universal Soldier, but I'm not feeling so hot. I'll be right back.
Goodbye, Mike. Bye.